Reitz, and I'm a staff data engineer at EA. Yeah, so in order to explain Earthmover and Lightbeam, I need to first a little bit recap kind of how EdFi works. So EdFi, you may know, is sort of both a data standard, which is like the language that we speak, English or Spanish. It's also a set of technologies that we use to actually communicate that. So like if I pick up the phone and start talking to someone. And with EdFi, one of the powers of it is it brings interoperability where different systems can talk to each other. So in a typical environment, you might have things like a student information system where you have your student enrollments and attendance and behavior data, and that can flow through to EdFi. You might also have an HR system or a finance system where information about your staff, your teachers, and payroll and things like that live, and that can flow to EdFi. Well, we found that another sort of domain of data that's important but hard to get into EdFi is assessment data. So things like your state assessments on reading or ACT or SAT, college prep assessments. And a few of those assessment vendors have native integrations to EdFi, but most don't. So what we built Earthmover and Lightbeam to do is basically to take tabular assessment data and transform it into the language of EdFi, and Lightbeam actually sends it to the EdFi API. So when I started at EA about 4 years ago now, this was one of the first projects that I was asked to work on. We knew we had this assessment data that I mentioned, and we needed to get it into EdFi. And it was kind of an interesting technical challenge to work through, how to do this in the most performant way and get code that runs quickly. But basically that was the genesis, and we worked with one district to get their data integrated into an EdFi ODS. And from there, it's really grown. One thing that we do is we maintain a set of, we call them bundles. They're basically the Earthmover translation instructions for many different assessments. And so that list is growing. We have many assessments represented, and those are available to anyone to use. And then more recently, we've started building a product called Runway, which is basically a user interface on top of Earthmover and Lightbeam. So rather than having to type commands and run command line tools, you can just point and click and drag drop your assessment file into a website, and it gets sent to EdFi. One of the challenges that we've faced is sort of around governance. So these bundles, the instructions for translating to EdFi, and what are like allowed values for a particular assessment and things like that are complex questions that many people sort of have an interest in. The assessment vendor, the state or district that's using EdFi, EA may want to provide some guidance for analytic reasons. So these are things that are challenging, and Jules on my team has actually really done great work, especially in South Carolina, to help just get lots of people in the room together and figure out a lot of those governance questions. So we've been using Earthmover and Lightbeam in the field for a couple of years now, and they're pretty robust, thankfully. But there's always just maintenance and upkeep on these things. Both the EdFi data standard can change from time to time. Also the assessment vendor file formats can change, and so we're doing ongoing maintenance just to keep up with those changes. And then on top of that, we have the Runway product that uses Earthmover and Lightbeam, and there's new features being added to that I'm excited about, including one has to do with student ID matching. So basically making sure that when you try to send assessment data for a student, that student is in the target EdFi implementation, and that you can match them by ID, or if not, then by name or birth date or other information. Absolutely. So Earthmover and Lightbeam are open source tools. They're available on EA's GitHub, and there you will find also really good documentation pages about the tools that explain how they work and how to use them. On top of that, EA folks like me and others are pretty active in the EdFi community, so you can find us at EdFi events or on the EdFi Slack community. And then beyond that, one other thing I'll mention is EA's podcast, the Database Ed podcast. Recently I had the pleasure of appearing with Molly and Rosh and talking about Earthmover and Lightbeam and just the journey there. So if you want to hear more about that, you can check out that episode.